The ability to write professional emails is a valuable skill. Thanks to our ever-changing technological world and our busy schedules, professionalism has suffered. Careless, informal emails confuse your recipient and make you look unprofessional. At Richland College, we expect you to reflect the highest levels of professionalism. To begin, think about what you want to say before you send an email. Keep in mind that your professor is a busy person just like you, and they may not know what screen you're looking at or what you mean by the assignment. Here's what a professional email looks like. It has a professional email being used, it has a clear subject line, and it utilizes an awesome opening greeting. For instance, it says, "Dear Miss Sullivan," and then a colon at the end. Some common mistakes students make is to put a comma after dear or after hi, to use MRS, which is the name of a married woman, which you may not know if your professor is married or not. Even if you do know they are, still use MS. Do not use MISS, which is a very informal version for miss. You could use, if it's a male, Mr. MR. You could use, for either gender of professor, professor with a capital P, or doctor if that person has a PhD or EDD. If you're not sure, it's usually best to go by professor and the professor's last name, or whatever they've asked you to call them. You can see that this email is composed very clearly, letting the recipient know what the person has attached, not just sending a blank email with an attachment, and is asking for feedback. And if you send a blank email with only an attachment, it is unclear to your professor that you want him or her to check your work. And you can see here that this person has signed their first and last name at the end. Be aware that your professor may have many students, and so just signing with your first name isn't enough. Here's an example of an unprofessional email. You might notice that the email is not professional. They begin with hey, which is never a professional way to begin an email. They begin Miss, M-I-S-S, and then lots of text speak. So do not use text speak like LOL, OMG, using the letter U instead of YOU, or IDK in professional emails, even if you type them on your phone. Another major problem that you might have noticed here is that the student wrote I with a lowercase I. This happens a lot in student work, and it really shouldn't. You need to capitalize the pronoun I in all of your work and in your emails. You always, in standard English grammar, capitalize the I when referring to yourself. Do not use an unprofessional email address. If you are not sure if you have a professional email address, you can use the one the school has provided you. Proofread your work for spelling and grammar. You can also set up your email to do a spell check for you before you send, and it will catch several errors for you. Do not use all caps. It makes it seem like you're shouting. Identify yourself in an email. Address women, as I mentioned, as Miss or Professor unless otherwise directed. A good thing to remember is to always address a professor in the way they've asked you to address them. If you are not sure, a polite thing to do would be to ask them how they'd like to be addressed. Make sure you watch your tone. How you sound in an email is very important. Sometimes it helps to read your email out loud and listen to the tone that you have as you're writing it. Avoid e-rage. If you think you're very angry about something, cool down before you reply to an email, or write it in a Word document. Wait an hour and come back when you're calmer. Always include a greeting. Always ask direct questions. Please avoid oversharing personal information. I care if you're sick, but I don't need to know the color of your sick. Include a signature like sincerely, and then your first and last name. So again, here's what you should do. A professional email address, subject line that includes your section and name of the course, proper greeting, question that's direct, a thank you or sincerely, and your first and last name. Thanks for listening, and now proceed to reading more about Netiquette and then taking the How to Communicate Effectively quiz.